So first things first, I love food, I love family, and I love design. So I want to reintroduce this familiar everyday architectural element to you as the center of human interaction. Think about it. First dates, weddings, family reunions, holidays, weekend outings, company potlucks, people just come together and eat. Well, our bodies are designed to eat several times a day to be replenished and recharged. We were made with a built-in need to stop and commune around the table. Well, where did the table come from? What is its origin? We can see in the ancient book of Exodus, found in the Torah and in the Bible, a clear description of what's believed to be the first table, 1400 years before Christ. In Exodus 25, God as the architect relays to Moses, the general contractor, how the tabernacle was to be built. Inside, there was to be a table. What's so interesting to me is that this description fits our typical dining table. Listen. Verse 23, you shall make a table of acacia wood. Then the size was described in cubits, which converts to about 28 to 30 inches tall. Make a gold border around it, so most of our tables still have rims or edges. 4 corners and 4 feet. Ask a child to draw a table, and this is what you will likely get. Dishes, pans, jars, and bowls for offerings. Well, same things we put on our table now. The high priest then went to the table on behalf of the nation, set the bread of the presence on it, and the blood of a sacrificed lamb brought forgiveness for the sins of the nation. So historically, there's something very significant about this table, and I believe there still is. Exploring more history, the Egyptians used wood or stone. Assyrians used metal. During the Renaissance in Italy and Spain, rectangular tables were designed with end supports braced by stretchers. A notable example is the Farnese table of marble inlay. In the Middle Ages, the dormant table was usually covered with a carpet or runner, and as the name implies, it was a stationary dining room table. Monasteries in the medieval times had a refectory, group dining room. A very long dormant table was popular in these rooms and at banquets and feasts held in castles or high estates. Elizabethan-era tables were characterized by their rounded legs and often had the draw table, a forerunner of the extension dining table. The extravagant royal feasts of this time showed off centerpieces made of peacock's feathers, branches, and sweet-smelling flowers. So table decor was very important to them, too. The trestle table is most likely the oldest type of American dining table, handmade by the Amish. A long, narrow plank of wood rested on a frame of several trestles or horizontal beams. These bridges of wood or horses were pegged and braced to the tabletop. The legs were designed to be easily dismantled for storage or moving and were very practical for traveling as the world was expanding. So think Oregon Trail. Not only do we get our vital nutrients from food, whatever type of table it's on, but we are given community, security, and identity as we gather around the table. Think of your childhood. Mom and Dad probably stared at you in your high chair, so proud of their child covered in spaghetti. Dad asks for the one thing the kids learn that day, and the siblings interact as they recount the tales of the day. This is my hilarious niece. Meals together connected our hearts. So home may be where the heart is, but first, home is where the heart is formed. Historian Edward Gibbon observes the 5 root causes that contributed to the downfall of the Roman Empire in his series of essays from 1788, and he states the number 1 as the undermining of the dignity and sanctity of the home, which is the basis for human society. So it was a slow decline, but with great repercussions. Great cultures crumbled when they stopped paying attention to what was happening at home. They didn't fall because of a lack of military or political strength like we would often think that would be the cause. Families needed to sit down face to face. I'm with Norman Rockwell on this one. So our homes are central to our lives, where relationships are built, laughter, learning, and growth happens. Our lives can either be hurt or hardened by our experiences at home, or we can be strengthened and made secure by our interactions at home. So taking a dive into sociology, I was largely inspired by Debbie Titus's book, The Table Experience. She says, if the home is the basis of human society, is it possible that the table is the basis of human stability? Could it be that the simple act of eating meals together is vital to the long-term health and stability of our families and our society? Well, there's a really touching story in the book of when her family invited an ex-convict, a friend, into their house And the guy broke down into tears as he sat down because he'd never been invited to eat with a family like this before to be included. Documentary filmmaker and journalist Miriam Weinstein studies the psychology, education, nutrition, and sociology regarding the family meal. Her conclusion, put simply, is that eating meals together makes us smarter, stronger, healthier, and happier. It makes sense. We are mind, spirit, body, and soul beings. So Western design generally for so long cared about lineage, tradition, and history, and the modern movement was all about newness, technical innovation, originality, and cared about the present and the future rather than what was just before it. Since the 1950s and 60s, our homes have been redesigned with bars and counters in the kitchen instead of a formal dining room. We have increasingly busy, on-the-go lifestyles. Drive-thru and ready-made dinner mentality has set in. We no longer make eye contact, but we stare at the TV often. Statistically, we spend less time eating meals together, communing at the table. There are empty chairs. Our culture has changed, and design affects society as a whole, wouldn't you say? So finally, at the end of all this, we come to the fork in the road. Will you gather around this priceless piece?